Good morning. Yay, we are live. Good, happy Wednesday. And I am very excited to share my Wednesday time with one of my best friends of my whole entire life, Miss Dina Winters. I'm very excited to be here with her today. I invited her in and I was thinking, let's do this during this Wednesday time because we're going to be doing this a little differently than I usually do. But it's actually Dina and I have such great conversations, and she's one of my people that I love to dig into things with because she has a mind that loves to learn and loves to understand and asks questions that I didn't even think about. I'm like, yes, what is that? So I'm very excited to have this time with her and to just discuss what we've been learning, what we've been experiencing, really as we've been digging into the Hebrew roots of our faith. And it's been an honor. Dina and I got to know each other back, I will date ourselves, but we were both single. We were both pretty new as Christians. So I got baptized in 94. So what was it, around 95 when I met you?
95. Yeah, 95.
Wow. So around 95. So we've been friends a long time. And then we ended up being roommates. We moved in together. And that was so incredible. The quiet times we had, the prayer times we had, and the bond that we really made. And God would have it that our lives would be parallel for all this time. And so we both have moved from California to Texas. We've been here for 7-8 years now in Texas. And it has been such a joy for her to be part of my journey in such an intimate way. We have been partners and confidants and prayer partners and prayers and tears and the depths of the depths and the highs of the highs. We've gotten to experience each other. Me having Landry, her adopting her kids. We've experienced trips and holidays, and it's been amazing because it's like where we jump, she's always right there, and we're in it together. And we started this process of really wanting to understand the Hebrew roots of our faith and digging down deep. Once again, she was like, oh yeah, this is awesome. And she actually had a lot in her background of understanding the Jewish faith that she shared with me. And so it's been a really incredible journey, and I'm just so excited. And really, we just wanted to share here today with all of you guys that are out here on our Self-Care Soul Care Sanctuary, kind of sharing our journey together. And I wanted to give her an opportunity to share really kind of what she's been gleaning and learning, attaching to her Hebrew roots and the light bulbs that have gone off. And so welcome to our live today, Dina.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Yes, you're one of my closest friends, and I'm so grateful to be on this journey with you and also with Judy. You guys are amazing. I am so grateful for the ways that you guys pursue things. You dig into the truth. You want to, and then not only just for yourselves, but you want to share things with others. It's not something that you just kind of hold with yourself and you go, oh, I learned this. It's like you want to give it to others. So I'm just grateful to be on the other side and be able to glean what you guys put together. And this has been a great journey for me, even starting last year with the whole pandemic and getting on to the Zoom self-care, soul care in the middle of, we had no idea what we were in for. And literally it was like a lifeline, honestly.
Yeah, totally.
And it was like a lifeline. We had this once a week connecting with people. Maybe we didn't know them, but within, a week's time, we were already knowing people and feeling connected and feeling part of a community when everything was shut down and when we were not connected. And then even going through the counting of the Omer, which we did together, which is the first time. And, it was amazing. It was so deep. Like I didn't expect that because, even the Hebrew roots that I've even been exposed to, I never heard of that anyway. And it was a lifeline, but it was also an incredible journey just to reveal things to ourselves that we didn't expect. And so I'm so grateful to be part of this group. And the women that have been on this group are equally amazing, that have committed themselves to being a part of it. I look forward to seeing them every season when we get together and learning about the months and learning the depths of the way
Mm.
God set up the calendar. Uh, I didn't have any knowledge of that prior to this and prior to you guys sharing it. So yeah, I'm just grateful to be a part of this. I just thank you to both you and Judy. You guys are amazing. And it's really helped me a lot to grow, in lots of different areas. And so I'm just grateful for that.
That's so awesome. Yeah, it has taken, I feel like there's something that happens when when you've been a Christian for a while and you've studied the Bible, and obviously we'll never come to the end of understanding the Bible, right? And understanding this. But I felt like when we started to dig into this, it was like underneath things we knew, and all of a sudden we were like, oh wow, there's more. There's so much more to this. I remember just the mind blow that I had when I understood what Pentecost was and the connection to that, and then aligning with the power that's happened in the past in these months and these times and the seasons. Like, we know that seasons, and you plant and you sow and you reap and all these things, right? But when you connect to the biblical history of what was happening at these times, wow, it's just like you have more awareness. I think it's helped me to be more aware of the spiritual battle. Well, yeah, this is when the flood happened, like that's what's happening. And God is flooding and bringing things to the surface. So if you're feeling like you're going through that, yeah, it's tumultuous because it's meant to. And God's saying, inviting you in, and he's saying, let's work on this. So it's been, like you said, just this light bulb. And what I love about it is how God does this seasonal thing that every year it's the same: spring, summer, winter, fall. But every year he takes us deeper in that. And so I'm really excited. And this summer season, I remember when this ended last year, when our spring season ended and we realized we were shut down, and God put it on our hearts to continue. Because at the beginning of 2020, we were just going to do a January. That's what we kind of were doing. And we thought, oh, we'll do this online. And it went really well. Then God was like, well, let's do it for spring. And then literally the shutdown happened like the week we were starting, right? And then we were like, okay, well, what should we do for summer? And it was just this natural, like, let's do the next thing. And our summer session was so incredible. And we were thinking like, okay, and I know we've shared this, we're going to dig out the weeds. And what does digging out the weeds look like? And if you know us, if you know this group, you know that one of the things that's very foundational to the self-care, soul care is grief recovery, and the method and the tools and the things that we've learned. Because with grief recovery, you dig down and you go into and you heal and you get complete with trauma, with loss, and with those things, because you don't realize how they're affecting your life. And it's like a weed. When you're planting something, you're always taking the weeds out so it doesn't choke the plant. And there's so much visually to think about that in our life. There's so many ways that unresolved things in our life choke out our ability to connect. So it affects our parenting, our marriages, our business lives, if we're an entrepreneur, if we're an employee, like everything, it affects it all. And so one of the things that God led us to was this idea in the summer of self-parenting, and really digging into to what we discovered was over these 4 weeks, we did different exercises, and we did different things, and we shared them in that group that you were talking about, Dina, that is like this safe group that you don't even know each other after the first week. I mean, the first session that we do on Zoom, it's just like everybody just opened up, and it was like this safe place right off the bat. And after the first week, it was like we knew each other forever. And by the time the 4th week ends, we were like, no, this can't be ending. And that's why we also felt like, let's keep this going. And so every beginning of every season, we all pull together. We're in this group, Self-Care, Soul Care Mastermind, all the time. This is our hub. But when we do these coaching groups, we do a specialized private group because it's just the group, and we bond and we get to know each other. And so when we do the self-parenting, I know that you had such an incredible breakthrough, and you've shared it with me, and I have known you, and we've brought our kids up together. We've literally brought our kids up. You have two kids that are graduating. You're going through graduation right now. They're graduating high school. My daughter is a year away from graduating high school. So we've gone through many, many, many stages together, many phases and stages and connection and parenting. And it's been amazing to have that, to have each other to work through all those things with. But I loved your breakthrough, and I wanted to see if you could share what your experience was when you were doing specifically the self-parenting. Any part about it that you want to share would be fantastic to hear about.
Yeah, so the self-parenting had an exercise that I was very familiar with because it kind of mirrored a little bit of what I've learned through grief recovery. And it was basically kind of digging into your teenage years, having a look at that, and then being able to write a letter to your teen, yourself, right? Kind of like a love letter to yourself. And I had no idea when I started this what it would entail or what would be revealed or whatever, because I'd done a lot of grief recovery. So I thought, what's going to be revealed, right? And so I went through the process, and what came out of it was that when I was growing up as a teenager, I didn't feel protected by my parents. And so in specific areas, and to give you an example of that, I had a boyfriend when I was in high school, and my dad would have, he would set up my parents were divorced. So on holidays and stuff, we would go on different trips with my dad. And so this one trip was scheduled to go to Big Bear. And so he said, well, bring your boyfriend along. And I thought, oh, great. Okay. And so he came along, and then he ended up putting us in the same bedroom together, by ourselves. And at the time I thought, well, that's kind of weird. But I mean, not like I had, this big moral compass, but I'm just saying it was like, I thought it was a little strange that my dad was like, oh, this is where you're staying or whatever. And I ended up getting pregnant, and which was a very traumatic experience as a young girl. And, coming to the conclusion that my option was to get an abortion. And so this whole decision making that, me being an immature teenager, I'm not blaming my parents or my dad, but what I am saying is that there was no discussion of, keeping us in separate rooms, or discussion of, hey, you could get pregnant, or, I mean, nobody talked about anything. It was just kind of like, figure it out through learning hard lessons or whatever. And so, having that experience, it still resonates with me to this day. I mean, having an abortion it's awful. Like it carries with you grief, and you carry that. You don't forget it. It's something that you will live with, that's a decision you made. It's long term, and we do heal from it, and God forgives us for it. And that's amazing.
Yeah.
But the consequences of making that decision have a great weight to them. And so I literally realized that I didn't feel protected. So what happened is as a parent, coming into being a parent, I got connected with the fact that that's all I wanted to do with my kids. Is I really wanted to protect them, talk to them about things, give them really great direction, hope they make really great choices, pray for them. Like, I feel like I went, not even knowing that this is what I was doing. I realized it when I wrote the letter that, wow, that's been a big aim for me as a parent, is that I protect my kids. And so at that particular time when I was writing that letter and this was revealed to me, I was having a lot of, I was hitting heads a lot with my daughter. And, she was pushing back and saying, you're overprotective and, basically treating me like I was a buzzkill, and I was trying to keep her from having fun around every corner. But basically, in my mind, in my heart, it was the heart of, I love you. I want to protect you. I don't want you to, not experience your life, which she was, but she was reading it as that. And so after I read this letter, we sat down, we had a really good talk, and I explained to her what I just learned about myself. And I told her about the abortion, which I'd never told her about before. And I told her that I didn't feel protected. And I said, what's really painful for me right now is that I'm realizing that I'm offering you the protection I did not have, and you don't want it. And it was just a very moving conversation. We both cried. It was emotional. And I think at that point, she made that connection with me that, wow, you're not trying to stop me from living my life, but you're actually loving me and trying to help me navigate my life. So I'm not just trying to do it by myself or figure out things the hard way. And I will say that ever since that conversation, we may, we can hit heads still or whatever, but it's funny, the words that come out of her mouth when a lot of times we do that, she goes, oh, you love me. She's like, oh, you love me. I know. And so then we'll try and work through whatever it is she's talking about, or she'll try to clarify things with me more so that she knows that whatever she's making a decision on, she's protected or whatever. I just feel like she's more aware now because of the conversation we've had. And also our relationship has improved because of it. And so I didn't expect that going into the session at all, but I do feel like it put us on a totally different trajectory. And I'm super grateful for that because that was not something I did. I think it was something that God did through the summer self-care, soul care. I was willing to do the work, and he was willing to walk me through that. And it was awesome. So.
Wow, that's amazing. That's incredible. And I love that because by you getting connected to that root that was in there about not being protected, and even making the connection, but being able to talk. One of the things that we say in grief recovery is unresolved grief is about undelivered communication. You can't communicate something if you don't know what it is. And a lot of times we don't even know what that is, what we want to communicate. And I love the breakthrough that you had with her because you were able to be vulnerable, and vulnerability breeds vulnerability. So you being vulnerable with her and sharing and trusting her with that information, it became this thing instead of I'm the parent and that's why. And this is, instead of this, it was this, and it brought her to have compassion. I would imagine it brought her to have a realization, like a perspective shift of, wow, I understand, because we talked a lot, and this came out when we were doing this insight was when we were teens, it's like you're bridging that time between being a child and being an adult. And so you create your way of survival. That's when we become rebellious. That's when we take things into our own hands. That's when we say things like, I'm going to prove to you, I'm going to do whatever. I don't want to be anything like you. Or you become just like them and you're making choices and all these things. And so when we went back into that particular time, it was amazing, the breakthroughs and the connections. And I love this because I'm excited to do this again, because I believe it's just like even with the tools of grief recovery, like there's so many things you can use them for. And each time you go a little deeper and you discover something else that can be healed. But the most important part is having the place or the mechanism that opens up, oh, this is my emotional truth. Like your emotional truth was, as a teen, you didn't feel protected by your dad, and sometimes we just won't tap into that if we're not being intentional about, okay, God, what are you leading me to? God is calling us to meet him. He's
Yeah.
partnering with you and saying, we're going to dig down a little bit here. We're going to dig down. One of the things that I love too is that we are not about behavior modification. We're not about that. We aren't about tips and tricks to a better way of, no, we're all about let's dig under. Like Judy, I love when Judy talks about when you have a goal or when you have somewhere where you want to be and you have to get over this, the idea is, how do we figure out how to get over it? Well, the truth is you have to go under it. The truth is you have to go under that and lift it. And we've learned that the obstacle is the way. What is in front of us is what God is calling us into, but he never takes you into it alone, ever. He's there with you, and having the community of everyone in that place where they're committed to being safe, being emotionally safe. And that's just remarkable in this process, is having that. So I am very excited. And one of the things that we talk about when we're talking about this class is that this is the time to nurture and tend to what is implanted.
Yeah.
And I loved that you brought up the Omer, because, oh my gosh, I mean, there's so much in that even this season, I wanted to dig more into it than I did last season. And I was like, wow, I know there's even more here. So there's so much there. And then what we want to do is dig down to the root of any weeds that can grow up and choke the promise that God has on your life. There's weeds that want to do that. That's their whole, when we make these commitments to things when we're teens, like I'm going to show you, or I'm never going to let my heart be broken like this again, or any of those things. And what we've discovered is a way to do that is by returning to the childhood where your subconscious mind was literally being formed.
Mm-hmm.
And the misparented child in you is the part of you that still retains innocence, creativity, awe, and wonder towards life. And isn't that something God and Jesus even says, you got to be like a child, the heart of a child who sees all those things. And as we get older and we get a little bit, what's that word when you're
Jaded.
like jaded?
Yeah.
Is the word. You're like, oh yeah, good luck with that. We know how that's going to turn out, and pretty soon you're just like, oh, I'm not going to, you're protective. You've got all these things that are going to protect your heart. And we want to connect back to that awe and innocence and wonder of the world. And how can we have that towards life? Because that part of us actually is what's the most connected to God. It's the one that most hears God, the one because it's open. It's open to, have you ever talked to someone that's really excited about something and in your mind, you're like, I can't say anything because I will just crush there because I'm like, well, this is what it's going to take. Do you have this much money? Do you have this much? Do you have this knowledge? And, but so there's all this connection to God of, hey, anything's possible. And to think about what's possible, what's to go into something with a great expectancy of what God's going to do, like a child, like heart that's going to say, I know God's going to show up, and it's so important that we have that faith because we know that that's what connects us to God. We can't do it without that faith. So it's amazing. And so over these when we start on the 21st, we're going to be helping you connect to these unhealthy patterns. That's what we call these weeds, the unhealthy patterns. And we're going to walk alongside as you experience breakthrough and healing. And I have no doubt that there's going to be an incredible amount of breakthrough and healing because I get to experience it and I get to have it too as we go through this. Because like Judy and I say, this is as much for us. We're right in it. We're sharing, we're partnering, we're sharing our letters, we're writing them and all of those things. So I'm really excited. And I don't know, what are your thoughts, Dina, of what, like going forward into summer? Is there anything that you're kind of hopeful about, what you want to glean?
I think for me, there may be some stuff I think probably connected with both of our kids graduating right now. So there's a transition for me as a parent. And so I don't know, I think maybe it'll probably be connected with that, like even my own transition as a teen into adulthood, if that's what we're going to be focusing on. I don't know, but I think emotionally there's definitely things there that I need to probably grow through, because any transition time always involves grief, as well as if you're open to it, it involves growth. And
Right.
so I don't think that, if you're willing to do the work and you're willing to tackle it, then you're going to have growth, and you're going to have perspective and a different posture. And I will say that it wasn't really a goal of mine when I started self-care soul care to have these specific transitions or this growth. They happened, which was great. And one of the things I noticed that happened from just collectively going through each season with self-care soul care is that this last season that we did, the spring session, I realized that my responses to adversity or things that were challenging has changed.
Mm.
And I really link it to the growth that I've had from self-care soul care in this last year, because I've even noticed the difference from last year to this year.
Oh, wow.
When I'm presented with a challenge, a lot of times it's financially or something hits me, and I'm usually like, I know that, I don't know why, but like deep down I had like this kind of like a victim mentality. And I believe that God's kind of, over the years, more and more, he's kind of pruned me of that, which has been great. But I would just kind of go, like, if something would happen, I would just be like, oh, okay, whatever, this happened or
Mm.
whatever. But this time it was different. And it was specifically like just with this whole situation with Nathan and the dentist that was just like being obnoxious and overcharging us. And there was just like all this stuff. And normally I would just be like, oh, well, that's what it is, whatever. But I literally just was like, nope, that's not happening.
Mm.
And I literally worked hard I got a different insurance. I found another dentist. And he needed work right away. And most dental insurance have a waiting period of 6 months to a year. And
Wow.
so anyway, I'm condensing this, but what I'm saying is that I realized, I was like, I'm not going to be a victim to these people. They're just ridiculous. And I just literally put work into it, found another dentist, found another insurance, and got Nathan's dental work done like within 3 weeks.
Wow.
And it was like, the first dentist quoted us $1,500 to do the work. And the dentist that we ended up with charged us $300.
Oh my gosh.
So, and I feel like in the past, I kind of just would have been like, oh, well, I'll never find it or what. I don't know. But I think that I gained a certain strength from being
Mm.
with self-care soul care. I gained a strength and a belief in myself. And I don't think that's random
Wow.
at all.
That's amazing.
So
Yeah. Yeah,
anyways,
it's interesting. It's like a clarity that brings you kind of like a confidence and a wisdom. Like all of a sudden you're like, no, I have choices.
right.
And I can look into this and wow. And I love that. That's really great illustration.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's something minor. It's a dental thing, but I realized like my heart was different. And
Mhm.
God led me to an insurance that I could start right away. That's rare.
Yeah.
And so and they were a great dentist. So it's just one of those things where I feel like you said, I gained a confidence. I knew I had a choice. This wasn't right. And I just went with and the other thing is that we started out each year talking about our words.
Right.
And
Mhm.
so this year, what was given to me was intuitive. And so I had confidence in that, because when the dentist office that we were with was just being rude, and I was like, what my intuitive was saying, like the spirit was saying, you're not going here. Like, this is not where Nathan's getting his work done. And
Right.
I said, okay, then I just started pursuing. So I feel like that is a growth that I feel like I'm just super grateful for. I don't feel like I have to cave into whatever's being presented, and I can seek something else out, and there's options. And so, yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, I love that because it's so huge. We don't even realize how the limiting thoughts that we have limit us. Like, you wouldn't have thought of that, but like you said, I would have just kind of normally gone, well, I'm not really going to get any better than this, and I can totally relate to that overwhelming feeling of, I know that this isn't right. Like, there's something in you that's feeling like this isn't right, but I don't really know what to do to step out of that. Like you said, like a victim of this certain thing. And
Yeah.
I love that illustration of just being like, no, there's a confidence that comes and a clarity where you're like, no, I have choices and I can do this. And that can be in so many areas, in so many different areas. So
Yeah. I mean,
that's
this is just an example, a short example, but I feel like this is going to have much bigger impact on other things in our lives. I don't feel like, anyway. And then the fact that it worked out, that I actually found an insurance that we could transfer to and everything, like it also gave me more confidence. Okay, I can pursue things like this, even though it looks like on the outside, oh, you can't change your insurance, you have a waiting period, blah, blah, blah.
right.
So anyway.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yes. And I'm going to put the link below here. So our summer session starts on June 21st. That is a Monday. We are going to be starting on Monday, and we'll basically be going live. I will be confirming with Judy the time. We always figure that out between the time zones and everything, but we'll be going live at some point on Monday. Our first coaching will be on the 22nd, that Tuesday night. And what we do is we have two options for coaching. We have Tuesday evenings from 7 to 9 Central Time, or we have a Thursday mornings. It'll either be 10:30 to 12:30 or 11 to 1, depending on Judy's schedules, what we do with that, but it'll be around that time, Central Time. And so we want to give that offer because some people mornings are better, some people evenings are better. And so we'll start off Tuesday, and we will start with a bang. We like to hit the ground running. We like to make the most of every moment that we have, especially with these coaching and the Zoom calls. And I'm so excited to start. I can't believe it's coming up in, I think, 2 weeks or a little less. And so if you want to learn more, go to that link. It's selfcaresoulcaremastermind.com. And there's a great page there that'll explain everything. And you can sign up there. You can register there. If you want to share that link, if you have friends that you think would be really interested in being connected to a group. And it isn't just for women. We're predominantly women, but we do have a small cohort of guys that are amazing, that are always welcome too. And we have Dan, my husband, who is very interactive as well. And he takes the guys and they have their own groups as well. But this is huge breakthrough. I'm so excited. So, and I wanted to end with Judy put up this great post just to give you guys also some more perspective of every time you stand up for yourself, you are healing the wound for all of the women in your lineage who were silenced. And I love that because what we're doing is we're doing deep work. And it is foundational, but it's also generational. So we're healing things that have been passed down to us from generations for the generations that are about to come. Look at what Dina got to experience with her daughter through that healing that she got. She got to have a breakthrough talk with her that connected them and helped Bridget to actually receive the protection that Dina was giving her in a way that was understanding what that was and that they could communicate. I mean, that's amazing. That's incredible. And we can only do that with God, like only with God. So I'm very excited for us to start, for you guys to join. Thank you so much, Dina, for being here with us today, for sharing your heart, for being so open and vulnerable. We really, really appreciate you for being such a huge integral part of our Self-Care Soul Care tribe. We love you so much.
Love you too. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's an honor. So we love you guys. Have a beautiful and blessed day. And I think Judy and I will be jumping on live on Friday. We'll keep you posted. But in the meantime, have a beautiful day. Shalom, peace, blessings to everyone. Have a great day. Bye.